Today, there's a lot of energy on this podcast because I have my good friend Jimmy Shiba. Let's go, people. If you need a
Let's
personal
go.
trainer, hit my boy up, builtbyjimmy.net. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
All right, guys. So today we're going to talk to my old friend that I met way back in UCI when I was starting my bodybuilding career, or I guess I was in the middle of it, and I was just getting ready to compete in the West Coast Classic. Jimmy and I met up because he happened to hit me up to ask for a workout with me, and we did a super, super fun arm workout, which we did a throwback Thursday on just recently.
Well, first of all, here's what I want to say, because I don't feel like people really know who you are. Okay. And I bet it's
That's true.
hard for you to introduce yourself. So, and it's going to be a good segue to what I do. But, if you remember back to your college days, when you walk into the gym, your college gym has like this hierarchy. It's got, the newbies, and then, the semi-serious people. And then you got like the top dogs, the powerlifters, the bodybuilders. Abanov was the top dog in our college gym. Okay, so that's who you're talking to, everybody. I hope everyone knows that. There's there's tons of respect that goes along with that. And so, I want to put that out there.
I
for
appreciate
you,
that, man.
Okay, before we start. So I've always been in athletics my whole life, starting from when I was 3 years old, as a swimmer, cross country athlete, soccer player, track athlete a little later.
Yeah.
And then once I went to college, really all that stuff ended for me, all the competitive stuff. But, the pattern of my life was always, there's always needs to be practice, competition, you need to be getting better. You're always competing against your peers, your colleagues. And so going to the gym and working out was that natural progression. And so that's how I started working out at the gym. Really didn't really get into fitness full time until 2015. I moved to San Francisco after grad school from San Diego, and then started personal training.
I feel like we keep missing each other, Jimmy, because I was in San Francisco and I didn't get to see you, and now I'm in San Diego and you were here before I was. So it's really funny that we keep missing each other on the cities here.
Yeah.
Before you get too far into the fitness journey, because we're going to uncover that a lot in this episode and different parts of it, I'd be curious if there's, from being a trainer and being a coach to a lot of people that are in their fitness journey, what are, in your opinion, some of the most common misconceptions that people think a personal trainer is?
That's a great question. I think, a good example to explain it is, so my girlfriend, Elaine, when I met her, I said, "Hey, I'm a personal trainer." And she really looked at me and goes, she basically told me, "Oh, I'm never going to get a personal trainer. I don't need one." Right. And so that's kind of, it really shows how, a personal trainer can really mean anything. So
it's personal
to people that, yeah, it's literally, and I think what separates someone that's kind of, I don't want to say a bad trainer, but maybe like a beginner trainer, someone that doesn't really understand the business that well. One of the main differences is going in with a defined product. So personal training as a product is a super unique product because nothing about it should be defined until you meet someone and start gaining information on what it is. So really, like, you don't assume anything about someone until they start demonstrating it to you, or you start looking out for certain cues. But everything has to have this tangible evidence-based, I saw you walk this way, therefore I'm making this assumption, about your hip flexibility, your ankle mobility, or anything, your beliefs about training. I don't know anything. So it really, like, I love being the guy that knows nothing a lot of time. Like, I love it when I know nothing about someone, and I always walk around with that mindset of like, I know nothing about anything. And so that makes whatever I know a lot more valuable when I do start to get to know you.
That's beautiful. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
I feel like, from back in the day when you and I were working out, it was like Instagram was popping off about, fitness life. And there was a lot of people that wanted to be a trainer online or be some sort of a brand, a coach.
Yeah.
But what we saw was a lot of the same material, generic workouts, cookie cutter boilerplate stuff that you can find on like bodybuilding.com.
Yeah.
Not sponsored by them yet. that we could potentially, give to all these people. But the problem with that is that it doesn't take into account the personal part, right? Like, so if you're getting a personal trainer or a personal coach, you have to really get somebody that will look at you for who you are and what your,
Hmm.
blocks are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and then cater a plan that helps you bring those up. It's a very good point that you make, that you're not too quick to judge somebody and then suggest them that they do something that, that's almost like being an actual craftsman of this art of training, because I do think that there's something that sets you apart from just what you said about I act like I don't know anything about this person,
Yeah.
because the moment we start making all these assumptions, then we're likely to take shortcuts in our training method with them, right? Like, you would potentially be like, okay, well, you look like, you're 5'10" or blah blah blah, you want to lose weight, start doing cardio 5 days a week and
Yeah.
eat less, and then let's talk. I mean, those are
Yeah.
sort of the boilerplate, like, everybody knows you need to eat less to lose weight, you need to eat more to gain weight, but
Exactly.
how do you make that more palatable? It's really, you have to get into a person at a personal level and get to know them over time. I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear, like, from your perspective, because what really amazes me and why I wanted to talk to you is, like, I really appreciate what you said earlier, because when I look back at those time in my life when I was trying to be a competitive bodybuilder, I was very narrow focused on that. I just wanted that. No, nothing else in life really mattered to me.
Hmm.
And then as I started to, get older, and I just decided I wanted to make some money and work and all that, and I moved to the Bay Area to start working in San Francisco and, doing all that stuff, it really started to shift my focus away from being in the gym all the time. And one of the questions that I have for you is, how do you help clients who tend to have fitness goals, but then they work with you, but then they keep self-sabotaging themselves, for example? Like, what do you recommend to those people from, like, a mindset perspective on how they can strengthen themselves, their willpower perhaps, to then be better?
It's a great question. Well, here's what I think: you have to go into every single situation, and try to analyze. The thing is, I think you don't want to try to come in and create some sort of solution that's come up with like a theorem that's never been said or done before, right?
Tested or
So
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, the answers are within the person you're talking to. Now, you may be able to suggest something and add to it, but really everything that the person needs to have to create that change is in that person already, right? So really what my job is most of the time is to just try to get into the reasons behind why certain things are, right? So let's say someone has a problem. Let's take it a really simple example. Hey, let's extreme example. Someone just can't stop eating cheesecake.
Or I mean, more practically, most people can't stop eating late at night, when they're watching
Oh, that's
Netflix.
perfect.
Uh, I'll say that for myself. Like, it's
Yeah,
10:30. I'm like, man, I already had dinner and I want to eat some more food. Granted, I didn't used to be that way when I was trying to be a competitive athlete and I was trying to be way
yeah,
more disciplined. But since I don't really look at myself in that same way,
yeah.
so that could be a good example. So how would you deal with
That's
that? Yeah.
that's perfect. So what I would ask is, you know, when you were so what I'm trying to do right now with this question is taking a successful model that you've done in the past already,
Right.
right? So you've done it, you repeated it, and you've executed it very, very well. So what I'm going to try to do for you right now is to get you back in that mindset and just to ask yourself, what is it exactly that made you create those behavioral habits? So I'll ask you. So when you were doing when you were doing your bodybuilding, and it was 10:30 at night, what is it that drove you to do the right things, to eat certain foods, go to sleep at a certain time? Because I'm assuming you were hungry back then, also,
Absolutely,
correct?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a very good question to ask, Jimmy, because it's actually going to uncover maybe something that you didn't expect, and maybe I've never shared. But the reason I was so determined at that time is because bodybuilding became for me the avenue to outlet, or it became an outlet for me to really overcome a lot of my adversity growing up, and especially when I got judged by other people, or if I got bullied, or if I felt that I wasn't enough. So a lot of that sort of mindset came from me wanting to push that in. Every time I felt like I was not able to hold up a commitment to myself, I would think about all the people that kind of talked shit about me or whatever, and that would
Yeah.
fuel
Yeah.
me And then I'm always thinking about that day of the show, right? Like I was a very big fan of some of the bodybuilding culture at the time, and I would always think about like the unveiling, the day of the show, like that's what matters. So it's not about right now; it's about that sacrifice for that one day where we're gonna unveil the work that we've been doing. So you have to stay on it, otherwise that day is not gonna be the way you want it to. I think since now that's shifted for me, and I'm not really looking to step up on any stages, and I'm not really taking
Right.
my shirt off as much as I used
Yeah.
to back
Yeah.
in the day. I'm trying to be more healthy. So it's like my standards have changed in that sense, like my standards have shifted of myself, but I still want to uphold myself to at least, somewhat of a strong mindset around, let's say, compulsive eating. So
Mm.
yeah, I would agree. Like that was what I was doing then, but how can you help me now?
Yeah, I love it. So I think the first question I would get into is, so the individual that I'm speaking to a lot of times has this perception of what they should do, right? So
Mm,
for you, um, it, if you want to get into, like, if you want to lose weight, right? Let's say, or like maybe you're like 185 pounds or something like that. And you want to get down to 175. For
right.
me, what I would question is, so what does being 175 pounds mean to you, right?
Right.
Because what is what you the situation that you came from in bodybuilding is, it's this very extreme thing of, all right, guys, look at my body. I've been doing this and this for the last 20 weeks. Look at my body, rate me. To put everything that I've done in my life for the past 20 weeks, well, basically maybe your whole
Judge
life,
me.
right?
Yeah,
You've
pretty
worked,
much.
yeah, and put it into a number, 9, 10. You get judged, right? Like, all your poses.
Yep.
Judge me, and then on top of that, compare me
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
and tell me if I'm good or bad, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what you're saying. And I think with anyone that talks, anyone like yourself, like, so if you were morbidly obese and like you were maybe 300, 400 pounds, then it becomes more of this, like, you might die tomorrow if we don't lose this weight. So let's get this weight off right now. Like, let's take a look at all your numbers. But I think what I would explore is, for everyone else, for example, for yourself, like, you're a very, very healthy individual. I would try to find out, why is it that you want to see this number go down so bad?
Right. Right.
And I would,
It's a good
yeah,
question. I could probably actually answer that. I think for me, it's
yeah,
just now I'm looking at, I want to be more of this figure that has the authority around mental and physical health. Of course, I've proven myself by taking myself to the extreme on the physical health, but now I'm
mhm,
not so concerned about looking physically like, like a bodybuilder. I'm more interested in just being healthy and being an example to others that, hey, you can have it all. You can take care of your physical health and your mental
mhm,
health as well as your business and your relationships in life, and you can have that balanced life and be fulfilled. You don't have to chase this one thing and then go crazy over it and then lose out on everything else, which was one of the biggest lessons I learned in my fitness journey earlier on.
right,
So I think for me, you've actually really gotten me thinking on the spot here about why do I want to actually lose weight. And the point is, it's basically because I want to, again, hold up a self image
right,
of myself, and uphold that as somebody that I put myself out to be. But yeah,
love
and
it.
on a very personal note, you're absolutely right. It does correlate with some things like your health. Like at least in my family, diabetes is a very common occurrence. So if I don't watch my food habits, especially eating late at night, it can spike your insulin and
Mhm.
high and make me more insulin resistant, which can definitely make me closer to becoming a diabetic. And that's something that I fear. I guess I want to avoid, right? So I want to run
Mhm.
away from that, and partly that's why I do that. But I'm curious, like, how do you work with clients who tend to, let's say, stay on track, right?
Right.
But then they don't. Like they take 2 steps forward and like 10 steps back one day or whatever, right? Like how do you
Yep.
deal with that? And how do you deal with that sort of mindset adjustment where the person's like, well, what's the point? I'm already a failure, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the first thing you want to do is to not panic.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of times, instead of saying, let's make these changes, blank, blank, and blank, what I want to do is first identify the factors that are leading to the current behavior right now. Right.
Hmm.
So there's this term in public health called intuitive eating. All right. Let's take eating, for example, your nutritional patterns, but this can be patterned to any behavior. What you want to do first is, instead of making these blanket changes of, hey, this is good, these things have been proven to be good.
Right.
Eating vegetables, not drinking 10 Cokes a day, eating late at night, for example. Okay. Instead of just saying, these are good things, you are now going to do good things, and then you will become healthy. What you want to do is, what I do is just go through and ask, what kind of value does the eating at night, for example, bring to you, right? So, yeah, what kind of emotional value, like
It's comfort
everything that,
usually, I would say.
yeah,
It's a lot
right,
of it is just comfort. You're like, hey, I
comfort,
want to chill out and I want to just, okay, whatever. I can eat these peanut clusters full of chocolate, eat 6 of them and they're
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
consume
yeah,
like
yeah.
300 calories all of a sudden. Yeah, it's totally right. It's about comfort because you feel like this is something that's going to make me feel better. And it's late at night, nobody's watching. I don't have anything else going on. You might as well just slip a few pieces of candy or whatever, right? Like that's such a good point, man. Damn,
I
you're
love
good
it.
at
I
this,
love it.
Jimmy.
I love it. And then I'm getting so excited right now because, like, look, right, you mentioned a few things right there,
Yeah.
right? Nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You said nobody's watching, right? So what I would suggest is maybe we get your wife to maybe get on board with this.
Oh, dude,
That
you're
way
already you're
somebody's,
already ahead of me on that.
yeah, somebody's watching, right? Maybe, you mentioned it's comfort. That's a great word because, let's say we do change it. And I say, you know what, strictly, let's go back to your bodybuilding mentality. Let's just cut that out.
Right.
Don't do it. Cut that out. Discipline, right? You're going to be sacrificing that very important word, comfort. Do you really want to, is that something you're really willing to take away? That late night
Right.
comfort, right? And that comfort, in that moment, it's just like, yeah, that comfort, let's take it away. That's fine. But what if that comfort really leads you to being at a great mental state to go to sleep? So now you may be sacrificing your ability to get great night's sleep, right? What if that comfort is the thing that leads you to, overeat and like binge on 100 chocolate candy bars in 2 weeks,
Right,
right?
because you started to sacrifice, and all of a sudden you're pent up, and you rebel, which I think everybody
Exactly.
who's ever competed in a bodybuilding show has done, where they've been on a
Oh
strict
yeah,
diet for weeks and weeks and weeks, months, and then the show is over, and now it's like bring out the
yeah,
donuts and the cheesecake and everything,
yeah.
and now
And
you're
that's,
like,
yeah. You
wow,
could relate with it perfectly, right?
100%, dude.
And so what I'm trying to do is set you up for when I'm gone, right? You're not, you and I are not going to be working together for the rest of your life. I want you to be able to make those decisions for yourself and be comfortable doing that. And so those type of conversations are the most important ones to have is, this comfort. What does that comfort mean to you? Do you think that you can take that comfort away and have this behavior sustainable? Because one of the things that you want to do is have that mental clarity, right? That healthy mental outlook on,
And everything really.
being, yeah,
Yeah.
being comfortable in whatever you're doing and be happy with it. And so being able to justify those decisions for yourself that's the only thing that matters, really. It doesn't matter what I say, or I could bring anyone in here, anybody that you respect. Let's say, Phil Heath or Kai Green or something is telling you to do it. It's not going to matter at 10:30 at night because you said it yourself. You're alone, right? You're in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to be telling you what to do. At that moment, are you going to see like your pounds drop off and you're going to be 170 pounds and veins popping out and whatever? No, like that valuable moment. Maybe it's also a time where, you're spending time with your family. Maybe in the future, your extended family, your kids and whatnot. Are you going to be the one to say, you know what, guys, I'm not going to, I'm not going to spend time and eat with you guys and watch Netflix because I want to be 170 pounds.
I've been there.
That's not, yeah, it's not right. And
Yeah,
that's
it's not
perfect.
fun.
This is a perfect example for you because you can feel that pain.
Yeah.
You know what that sacrifice feels like. And so what I'm doing is just making you aware of it. I'm not coming out with some crazy like protocol of like, all right, well, how about you eat 20 grams of the peanut butter bar at 3 hours earlier, and then we're going to time it out. So
Right.
no, I'm just asking you some questions, and then
So
just
would you
see
say a
what you're
good
at.
personal trainer is somebody that doesn't try to keep their clients forever, is actually somebody that enables their clients to be self-sustaining?
Absolutely.
See,
That's
I feel like
gotta
that
be.
sets you apart from like 99.9% of people that are doing this game
Yeah,
wrong, because they're
yeah,
trying to bait people into like perpetuity, right? Like keep them on this hamster wheel so they keep paying them. And I felt like, believe it or not, when I was first starting out in bodybuilding, I really thought about becoming a personal trainer. And the biggest thing that drove me away was A, that the gym takes away like 90% of your money and your
Mhm.
commission. And B,
Yep.
that you don't really get to pick the clients that you do work with. They assign them to you, which it was sort of an ego play. Like I wanted to work with people that were like doing similar stuff, wanted to change their bodies and build, and so that we can talk about similar topics and things like that. So I really was selective on that. I did. I trained a number of people, and of course, I used to make a lot of content around it that helped my family in India to get in shape or
Hmm.
inspired them to want to be better. I'm curious, like, what are you doing for yourself? Because training people is so laborious, and it's so mundane because it's repetitive, right? Like,
Yeah.
how does somebody I know for me, I used to get really frustrated at the whole personal training part a little bit. How do you stay
Mhm.
like, sane and revitalized day in and day out, trying to do the same thing with people? Like, how do you keep yourself
Yeah.
sharp?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny. I've had these conversations with my clients because my clients, I'm very public on what my schedule looks like. Who I'm training. A lot of times, I'll film some of the workouts that we'll do together, and so people kind of have an idea of, man, I see you post content from like your first client was like at 5 a.m. in the morning, and you've been posting all day long, and then I'm here at like 9 p.m. or whatever, right? And the way I answer that is it's never the same. Like I'm in the same place, right? I'm in the gym, even if I'm in the same gym,
Right.
and I'm in the same gym all day long. As soon as that new person comes in, it's almost like I'm in like a totally different world. Like the personality that I'm dealing with is totally different.
Hmm.
The problems that we're trying to overcome
Hmm.
as a partners are totally different. The timings of like everything, the conversation, with the kind of jokes that we tell, the stories that we're trying to create, it's just
It goes
everything's different,
it
and I
goes
get
back to what
refreshed.
you said. You're not treating everybody like a generic cookie cutter. They don't have the same
Exactly.
workout and the
Yeah.
same routine. You've actually taken the time to learn this person. So when you do step in the time to work with them, it's like each of these people are unique individuals, which is absolutely true. I mean,
Yeah.
each person is their own self, their own way, the way they do things and the way they behave. So it's like you have that level of awareness, which I'm admiring like crazy right now. Like I'm amazed that you can hold that composure to treat everybody like a fresh new client every single time in every
Yeah.
interaction, and that keeps you going. Um, would you say like you also get? I'm sure you do. Like everybody has bad workouts, right? But like we
Mhm.
all have our rough days too. Would you say like do you have any strategies that you could share, or maybe something around your own mindset on when you end up having, let's say, a bad workout with a client or maybe
Mhm.
bad days for yourself? I mean, because you work like around the clock, man. Like I see you.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think I've seen you post or be up at like 2 or 3 in the morning just trying to do your marketing piece or your website,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
another topic I'm going to get into in a little bit here. But I wanted to see like how do you deal with sort of like the rough days, like the days where you're not feeling like Jimmy, where you're not feeling like the personal trainer, the one that's here to give everybody motivation. Because I think we all go through those flows. What's the
Mhm.
process look like for Jimmy then?
Oh, another great question. It's I think so. How I approach this question is it's kind of the same thing. It's this very same similar concept to if you, let's say, deadlift, if you're able to deadlift 500 pounds, right? And then one day you're asked to deadlift 200 pounds. That 200 pounds is all, it's like a broomstick basically, right? So um, I think in my mind, when I look back at some of the harder days, like I, I don't really have this sense of a hard day anymore.
Mm,
Like people ask me, oh man, aren't you tired? And I'll think back and I'm like, I was like, I was exhausted, but that was like 5 years ago. And I just kept going. So like I remember waking up and it's like a haze. Like like the whole year, I look back and I'm like, did that year even happen? Like I just don't even remember those days because it's like back to back to back. But I loved what I'm doing, and so like I never, like there is no hard anymore. Like a
mm,
hard day doesn't really exist because like every day is hard in a different way. if that makes sense.
No, it does.
It's
It
hard.
totally does. I think two key points that you made there. One is that you really genuinely love what you do in its
Yeah.
entirety. I think that's so important. We forget because when you want to do something and you want to be the best at it, like, and take the bodybuilding example. I didn't want to be on the stairmaster for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to do cardio 3 times a day when I felt like I needed to. I didn't want to eat bland food. But there's all these parts of let's say call it the job that are there. They're like stepping stones. You got to do them, otherwise you're not going to get where you're trying to go. So you've actually taken on 100% responsibility for everything that's involved with your endeavor around helping other people, and whatever that means. All the little pieces that are involved, you're taking them on as all or nothing, right? Like you've taken them all on as if like, okay, this is all important, this is all part of it, this is all how it has to be done, so I'm gonna go out and do
Yeah.
it. That's amazing, man. And you've built that mindset over years. I don't want anybody listening to this to misunderstand and feel like you can just do this overnight, because I don't know if you've noticed this. There's a whole lot of people out there that are still trying to be a life coach. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
they're like, 20 years old or whatever. And it's like, it's all good,
Yeah.
man. Like you want to get your start, but at the same time, like you can't fake this, right? Like you can't fake that full absorbed attitude. Like it takes a little bit
Yeah.
of crazy like tweak in your head to be like, you know what, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this stuff. I'm gonna do the crazy stuff that other people aren't gonna do. I'm gonna
Yeah.
work the extra hours and do the additional things that are required to get me to the next level,
Yeah.
which takes me to the next part of this conversation, which I also
Yeah.
admire you for a lot. Is you not only have your personal training clients and all that good stuff, you also have a lot of good resources online. You've built your own website, which again is built by
Yeah.
Jimmy.net. And it's not just there for workout resources. You have actually put in how can other people that are trying to be in this industry learn from all the mistakes and maybe lessons that you've learned and improve their career when it comes to marketing themselves, when it comes to getting clients, keeping
Mhm.
clients, and how that ties into the social media world, right? Like, so I'm curious if you can talk to me a little bit about that. Like, how did you approach that? Did you take that in as the same way you took in, like, I know, training clients? Because a lot of personal trainers probably are struggling right now during quarantine,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how can they make money.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, how that started was like I have been. It's almost like I've been doing it in my head for a long, long time. It was just, business wise, I never really had the either, like the opportunity to put it down and really give someone an outlined way of like, of helping them. Like up until now, I've been really just saying, hey, if you're a trainer and you need help, you DM me. I will, number one, answer you as the give you the best answer that I can,
Right.
and then and I'll just keep helping you. Just come on and DM me.
That doesn't scale,
Um,
obviously.
yeah. So and of course I was saying kind of similar things over and over and over and over.
Mm,
So, but at the same time, I also wanted to make it, number one, serious, like a serious thing. Like this is real advice that I am giving, and number two, I wanted to to monetize it a little bit, right? And but at the same time, I didn't want to, like, I know these trainers that are coming in are they're coming to me because they're struggling. So
right.
I don't want to make it this thing where I'm like, hey, you're going to pay me 10% of what you make. That's like that's not going to work. No one's going to sign up. So I just made it like one little small flat fee, just to make it valuable to them, make it valuable to me to keep writing, keep helping. And then also another part of it is, I'm a really competitive guy. So me doing this is like, in my mind, I'm like helping my competitors, right? Like I want to crush my competitors. So if you don't know anything, I'm like, yes. Like one half of my mind is saying that. The other half is like, man, go help these guys out. They need some
Right.
help. So I think now, number one, I have a little bit more time to work on this. I'm not training clients at 5 a.m. right now, so I have the time to get writing, and so I'm doing it. But another thing is it's kind of fulfilled like a long-term project in my head that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Right.
So yeah,
Dude, tell me about how you've been able to stay consistent with even working, because obviously the gyms are closed and people still need training. I know that I follow you a lot on Instagram, so I see you be doing workouts in the stairwells and using rubber bands and all that. You know, tell me about like how that's evolved for you and how you're able to still get people's attention.
Yeah, I love it. I think you can relate to this really well, because for me, one of the biggest transitions over the years that I've shifted my mindset on towards fitness is this. I really get less and less value out of gym specific things, and I
Mm,
think this is something that all trainers. It's only going to help you if you learn to do this. Is look, there's certain, and I'll use this example. If I was single and I was dating, and which by the way, you guys did a great video on the Tinder. I loved it. I loved it. But if I'm on Tinder and I message a girl, hey, I can deadlift 600 pounds. I'm sitting there thinking I'm really cool. Like the girl's gonna be like, great.
great.
Like you might as well have said 200 pounds,
Right.
300 pounds. It's gonna be exactly the same, right? So the value that these very gym specific movements, activities, it's kind of its own arbitrage. Like it's kind of this own world. Like what people really care about, you don't need the gym for.
Hmm.
You don't need it. Okay. Like of course there's people that go to the gym to look good. There's, but
Socialize.
they go to the gym to like be the queen or king of the
Oh,
gym. They look good
100%,
in the gym.
dude. You and I can stay on this and talk about this before we move on. I
Oh
think
yeah.
one of the biggest things that I've noticed as a trend shift is like the clothing line for women is
Oh my
just
God.
nuts, dude. Like from the time when you and I were at UCI at the gym, right? To
Mm-hmm.
like seeing maybe like two girls in the gym to now like seeing more girls in the gym than guys. I've actually made this
Yep.
statement to my wife and maybe earlier on this podcast is that I've actually noticed that the guys are actually way behind on their like game in terms of like being physically fit and having like that
Yeah.
it factor, that little freakiness, that hard
Mm-hmm.
work. And I see a lot more women now that are really like putting the effort in because they understood that all it takes is consistency and time. And now there's some
Yep.
beautiful physiques out there that are just trumping all
Amazing.
the guys out there. It's crazy. I don't know if you've noticed that in your career. Like if you're noticing a lot of guys are starting to maybe take it a little easier. I think there was a lot of this when Instagram first started getting popular on FitFam. It's like every other
Mm-hmm.
third guy, fourth guy that was going to the gym was like talking about his progress and his fitness journey.
Yeah.
But now I see a lot more
Yeah.
women doing that than guys. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. There's a lot of preconceived notions around the gym where you feel like you have to go in and you got to do these exercises, otherwise you didn't really have a good workout. But at the end of the day, if you were to look at it, your body doesn't know the difference. All it knows is the stress and the amount of work you did and the time under tension. So it's going to recover and rebuild just the same. So I think it's fascinating that you've been able to get creative. I think you have a whole book on
Yeah.
band workouts, which is
I
amazing.
do.
Because what couldn't you do with just a little bit of creativity and some resistance,
Yeah.
and bands are the good way, even stuff around the house. It's really
Yeah.
just about, I think shifting the mindset around getting yourself to think that, okay, a good workout isn't only a good workout if you go to the gym. There's plenty of
Mm-hmm.
things you can do outside the gym that'll get you the
Absolutely.
results you want, right? So
Absolutely.
that's really, really
Absolutely.
fascinating, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, as a trainer, if you break down what value it is that you're bringing to an individual, during your service, during your personal training product, the gym and everything that goes around with the gym, right? So even the physical aspects, like, you're going into a room. So, and there's like a structure with all this equipment. So inside a client's mind, you got to kind of go into each one. Each one's going to be a little different. Let's take a general client is going to say, well, this is a place where I think people get fit. Therefore, if I do something in here, I must be doing the right thing. I must be going along this right path. That piece of value is something that you can only get in the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you're going to have to, as a trainer, assess and see how big of that value is to that person. Like doing stuff at the gym. Like, is it, so if I had them do 10 push-ups in the gym, is it going to affect how effective they think that 10 push-ups is versus if I told them to do it in the stairwell, for example?
Right. Right.
That's something you got to go through with every person. And I guarantee most people don't care. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm there and as long as I give them instructions on the exercise. It doesn't matter if you do it in the gym. It doesn't matter if you do it on the roof. Doesn't matter if you do it anywhere. But, let's say you're a power lifter, which I have some of those clients. Those people, I flat out cannot train if they're a power lifter, because you need a barbell. The value that the barbell, the plates,
the rack, everything,
the rack, those things are like exponentially much bigger of a value piece that goes into this product that you've built, personal training. And so those people, you're going to have to either approach it a different way, find a way to sell them differently. But for most people, it's
about, getting their goal, which is, they're just
Yeah.
trying to either lose weight or, be more fit or active. And you can
Exactly.
do that in many different ways. It's about retraining that mindset. I really love that. I think before we did this podcast, like we were talking about this, I think you mentioned that even though this is a tough time for a lot of people, personal training for you has actually, it's on the boom, man. It's on the rise.
It's on the boom because a lot of my competitors are not working.
Right.
And so I've gotten many leads, more than usual, I would think, on just people that want to train. And since the gym is closed, I don't have to pay commission. I can just take them in the stairwell. And so I'm living my dream right now. This is great. I mean, it's a bad situation. I want to say that for sure. But business wise,
right,
it's one of the best things that could have happened.
And so it's worth highlighting, I think, because it's so easy to feel like, okay, just because things aren't necessarily good everywhere around the world, that everybody has to suffer. I really don't believe in that mindset. I think you have to look at your situation for what it is. And just because there is something being preached online or whatnot, it doesn't mean you have to identify with that, and you have to still do what works for you. And in this case, for you, Jimmy, you've been killing it with these workouts. I see you literally with like new people every day doing workouts on the stairs, doing all kinds of creative stuff, which to me is really what it's about. It's about, if you're going to hire somebody to be a trainer, you're going to hire them for the creative, for that motivation to push you. It doesn't matter if it's in the gym or if it's outside the gym. Ultimately, you're training your clients to have that mentality themselves so they can be this way for the rest of their life, because essentially this is a habit that you want to continue on. You don't just go to the gym for 3 months to get good for summer and then forget about it for the rest of the year. I wish it worked that way, but it really doesn't. Right? It's the ongoing thing, which actually, I have a very interesting question for you specifically. Yep. You've been doing this longer than anybody else that I've kept up with from back in the day, and one thing that stands out to me from you, which I'm really curious to know, is how have you stayed authentic to being Jimmy? Because I find that it's so difficult. I had to take a break on social media last year. I found it so difficult with so much information that floods in through the channels that we consume. It's so easy to be influenced by everybody else and what they're doing and how they're doing it and how this person's better than you, how they have a better this and that and whatnot. How has Jimmy stayed sane in that and narrow focused to what you're doing? And because you've really put in the work, then none of this stuff that we're talking about, I want to be very clear, is something that you just had overnight. Like, you've been doing this for years, when nobody was watching, you were doing this stuff. So and now that you're finally getting noticed and getting a little bit of notoriety around this time, I'm so happy that you are. How have you stayed authentic through these years, man? Tell me the secret.
The secret. Well, I would bring up two things.
Yeah.
Okay. I would bring up self-awareness as number one. And I would bring up a competitiveness, number two. So let me go over both here. So let's start with competitiveness. So I'm a really competitive person, but it's kind of in a weird way. Okay. So when I looked around, and this is kind of like my competitive mindset. Okay. We're at the gym. We are, I walk into a gym setting. This is my first time at the gym. And I think I was whatever. I was 18 or something, 19 years old. And I look around. My mindset on I'm going to beat you is, I want to beat you in 20 years. Mm-hmm. So I know, and this is all self-awareness, I know I'm going to lose at everything. I know that I can't lift as much weight. I know that I'm not bigger than anybody. I know that I'm not necessarily smarter than anybody. I know like I'm just prepared. Like I just like I it's kind of like bad, but like I kind of suck. Like I just go in and I'm like, dude, I'm the worst one here. But at the same time, like I still want to win. I still plan on winning. So the plan on winning for me is always, look, I know that something's gonna happen in life in 10 years,
Hmm.
in 10 years, 20 years, but I'm gonna still go. I'm ready for that right now, in like 20 years. So like I think it's this competitive mindset, but like knowing it's like I factored in the fact that I know that like if we lifted the same weights and ate the same thing, I would not progress as much. So the only way I'm gonna win, I still want to win just as much as anyone, is I'm just gonna keep doing it for like just longer, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it just becomes a part of your life. It's not like this phase. And so I think that really keeps me going, has kept me going. It's like kind of the same. So I don't have to shift mindsets. Um, I don't have to change. So I don't get this stress that comes along with change. Like I've been doing the same thing since, since day one. And I'm going to keep doing it. And I will say this too, is, you did mention that, this takes a lot of hard work, and um, it's, growing up, my upbringing, I think was huge in how I live my life now. How my parents raised me, and just to give people an idea, because people will be like, dude, don't you get like, burnt out or whatever? Like, don't you get sleep? Aren't you tired?
Yeah, don't you need a break?
Um, yeah, exactly, right. So growing up, like a sample day for me as a kid, as I like I thank my parents so much every day that they did this, because it was hard at the time. But you know, my my regimen every day was, I wake up at like 4:30 as a kid. Okay, my mom wakes me up at 4:30. I play the piano for an hour every day. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas, birthday. It doesn't matter if you're sick. I don't care. You playing the piano for an hour every day. Then I usually went to swim practice, morning swim practice.
Wow.
After swim practice, if it was a summer, I had another practice, I had cross country practice, but usually I had school. So I would go to school. After school, I would do school athletics, whatever season it was, soccer, cross country, track. I would do that practice. And then I would go to afternoon swim practice. And then I would run by myself after everyone went home around the field, just by myself in the dark. And then by the time I was on my way home, it was like 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. And I would just eat like some takeout for food in the car. I would eat it in like 5 minutes. And then I would do my homework on this, like this big clipboard, basically, with the light on in the car.
Mm.
And I would do my homework, and then boom, I would get home at like 10:30 or whatever. And then boom, it starts over again every single day.
Wow.
And swim season was, you practice 6 days a week. You usually had meets every other week. At the same time, I was playing soccer, so I had soccer games here and there. For some of my life, I went to Japanese school on Saturday, so that happened. I was there all day. It was just like I'm used to. I was like raised
Dude, you're
to
bred
do
for this,
stuff.
man.
Yeah,
You're
exactly. So when people ask me like, don't you get tired? I'm like, I almost don't even know what they're talking about. Like I may be tired. I just like, maybe I don't know it or whatever.
your conditioning
Um,
just tells you otherwise. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll
Wow.
tell them like, maybe I'll feel it. Maybe like I'm really hurting myself, like 40 years down the line, like I'm really gonna feel it. But I don't know. Like
Well,
I don't
I
really
don't
feel
think
it.
so. I think it comes down to fulfillment because you know that you're fulfilled with all the things you're doing, but you still want to strive for that long-term longevity, which is really what the game's about. It's not about looking good for that one show, for that one summer, right? It's about
Yeah.
how are you doing this year over year, and what's that progress there. I mean, this is something that you don't get to hear very often because everyone really sees people once they're successful, and they see everyone talks about their story when they've made it, but not many people
Hmm.
actually understand how long things actually take. So I want to
Hmm.
kind of circle back on what I asked about, staying authentic, but it must come up where you're so focused and disciplined on these things that you are doing. There's this very, very common fear of missing out, which we feel when we're on social media. Is there anything you can share with me around how you experience social media? Do you keep it purely business and then, not use it for anything else? Or if you do find yourself going on there and seeing other people's lives, how does Jimmy kind of calibrate himself back? Like, is that come back to that self-awareness piece? What are we talking about here? How are you staying, away from the fear of missing out and also, again, continuing to be authentic you?
Got it. Well, I think it comes down to this. I think a lot of people view social media as a way to to add value, like to kind of be somebody on social media,
Yeah, there's a
right?
persona everybody's playing.
Yeah. So for me, even business wise, the thing that I love to do on social media is just to add something to the people that I already know in person. So I never post something for someone to just know me on social media. I'm always looking through the lens of Abhinav knows me already in person.
Mm,
You know, let me help him out this way. Let me sell him this thing. Let me anything,
right, right.
right? Anything. It starts with like I just take a look at the people that I know. I met someone on the street. Hey Ted, great to meet you. And then somehow he winds up on my social media. I know you already know me in person. I'm just going to try to add some value to
Mm.
what I do, what I actually do, behind, when you don't get to see me in person, like at night or in the morning or whatever. So I think it's a lot about like, I don't really see in social media as a chance for me to become something else or present like this other look. It's just me extending who I am already.
I
So I don't
love
really
that.
get this feeling of like, oh, I have to be good looking. Look at all these great looking people. I never feel that way at all. And at the same time, I kind of like know the value of the things I'm looking at. So if someone has like let's say I see someone that has a Lamborghini,
Right.
right? And that's something that, like for me, I don't really, I'll really put myself in that person's shoes, and I'll be like, let's say I had a Lamborghini right now. Like, am I gonna be like, so what? It's like telling a girl that I deadlift 600 pounds, right? That's like nobody cares.
Right, right.
Like, is it really gonna make me happy? And I'll just think about it honestly. I think I'm good at that. Like, is it gonna make me happy? Eh, not really.
Maybe for a
That
day.
person,
And then you'll think about
yeah,
all the debt you've collected and how you're going to pay all
or
that off, right? No, it's a
yeah,
very,
like
very
I
good
have
point.
to, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Very good point. I think that's something that I've noticed that a lot of influencers online are struggling with right now, especially with like this downfall of Instagram that I'm calling it. I feel like it's a dying platform in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, is because people have overextended. They've played to these personas. They've outplayed themselves. And just because you have a ton of followers doesn't mean those followers are actually generating any money for you, right? Like a very, very common
Exactly.
misconception is just because you have a lot of followers, it means you're getting a lot of business. Absolutely not true. It really depends on the depth of the connections that you're able to make with some of these people, because ultimately they'll buy from you if they trust you. And that takes a lot of time. People, unless they're like an impulsive buyer or just have some sort of compulsive behavior there, most
Mm-hmm.
people will not fall for like, a random person's sell, right? It's
Yeah.
just not the way it works. But for whatever reason, society believes that this is something that we actually value. And so having the likes and the follower count and all that is really something that they think is worth something more, but it's really
Yeah.
not. Like, I mean, it isn't. It is. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say it's not an important part of society, because if you are online, you have some awareness about who you are and what you do. If you don't do
Mm-hmm.
that, then yeah, only the people that know you in the streets really will know what you do, but everybody else
Yeah.
won't. So it's a necessary sort of mechanism for getting yourself out there, and of course, it allows access to the direct consumer, which I think is really important. It was not like that before. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
go through a third party to do that. You can actually directly message somebody and get in touch with them,
Yeah.
start building a connection, ask them how they're doing, how can I add value to your life, what do you need right now to be better, and you can really kind of go there and go much further than that. I did want to pivot the conversation a little bit deeper, but I'll come back to my squishy story from you towards the end. But I
Yeah.
did want to ask you, Jimmy, like, through all this that you're doing right now, and
Yep.
everybody right now on Earth is doing something where they feel they might be, finding that to be meaningful in the time being. But when it's all said and done, Jimmy, when life is, coming to its end, how do you want to be remembered?
Um, I think I want to be remembered as someone who tried really hard. Um, I think it's simple as that. I have a quote written on my whiteboard, and it's one of those I didn't really hear it anywhere. Just something I really felt, and I wrote down that represents me really well. Is I would rather lose the game than be outworked.
Oof.
So I like I just I don't think there's a lot of metrics in the world of like you've won here, you've lost here. Like you have a lot of followers. This is a great example. So you are a winner. You have this big number. I think to me, it's more of like a feeling, like the self satisfaction. Maybe you'll call it happiness. I value that a lot more as a human being rather than I made some number, like I made X amount of dollars, I ate this amount, this many grams of protein, I did, um, I lifted this many pounds of weight. So I think it's less tangible, but that's more meaningful to me, and that's all that matters. So I think that's what I'm remembered as, someone who just tried really hard. Simple as that.
If you were alone on this planet, Jimmy, what would be something that you want for yourself?
Oh man, if I was alone on this planet, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. If I was alone on this planet, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's all
If
good,
I
man.
hold
That's a
on,
good one.
how would I exist? Who created me? Who are my parents?
Well, we're getting into some real deep existential stuff there, right? Like, I mean, a good question to ask with that is, it's just a really good question to think about. It's like, if you were alone, what would you want? I didn't know. For me, I'd want some other people to hang out with. That's for sure. I'd want to have, a life like I have now. So it's a question really to ask, to kind of come back to gratitude, really. Like we have so much given to us that we could do something with, that if it was all taken away from us, we'd be miserable, right? It's just a contracting or a contrasting statement, really. It's like, well, if you were alone by yourself, what would you want? It's like, I'd want all this stuff that I have, even the stuff that I hate. I'd want it. I'd want it because what else? What's the alternative here, right? Like if I was by myself, I wouldn't have anything. It's okay. Then if you don't have an answer for that, it's very, very much one of those questions that I feel it just sparks a deeper level. I did want to bring up one story that I think is amazing, because everybody claims to be a trainer for people, but not very many people have taken upon themselves to help
Yeah,
a
go on.
dog. Can you tell me a little bit about Squishy and how she came into your
Yeah,
life?
she.
How she
Yeah,
came into your
yeah, yeah.
life, and I know it was a dog that was overweight at the time when you got her. I think it was a year or so back, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, year and a half, I think
Yeah, tell
now.
me a little bit
Yeah.
about that story, because for those of you who don't know, Squishy's now like looking like she's 9 weeks out of the Olympia, getting ready to get shredded here. But all jokes aside, it's no joke that you've put a dog through a very similar sort of structure where you tried to understand what she could do, and then
Mhm.
built her up on that, and now she's a much healthier dog today, and I think a lot more loving, bonding with between the two of you. I love seeing that. I think it's so natural and just amazing. Tell me a little bit about that story.
So here's a story. I mean, it's almost like a combination of luck and just pure chance. So I really I was it was a time where I was single,
Mm.
and I just felt like I wanted a companion, right? So that's where I got the idea of like, what, maybe it's time to get a dog.
I thought that
Um,
when I was in the Bay Area, it can get very lonely
yeah,
out there, surprisingly. Well, even though it's a very popular, busy city, everybody's so
yeah,
focused, narrow focused on what they're doing. It's hard to
yeah,
feel like you have a real connection and get that love.
exactly. So I was like, I want a friend.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it started. And the situation was like, well, is it realistic for me to get this friend? Like, I have to, obviously you have to walk dogs, you have to feed them, you have to take care of them. And so I was like, well, you know what, I built my business enough where I lived right above the gym, so I could run up, spend time with them, but at the same time I know I don't have enough attention that I can give for a puppy,
Mm.
right? I can't raise a puppy. That's too much responsibility. I don't want to take away that much time from my business. So I was like, you know what? One of my clients referred me to a place where they only have old dogs,
Hmm.
senior dogs. So I was like, you know what? That's a good option because um, a senior dog doesn't require that as much attention as a puppy. So it's a place called Muttville in San Francisco. I would highly recommend it if you're looking to adopt a senior dog. But basically, what I did was one day I didn't look at their website, didn't look at any of their available dogs or anything. I said, you know what? Let me just go and see. Let me just see what this is about. I've never had a dog. I've lived with some dogs, so I kind of know the pattern of how to take care of them. But I've never had one. So I went in, and basically what it is, it's really just a very simple setup. There's a big room, maybe 40 dogs or so are running around. Some are injured, some are, this is a senior adoption
Yeah,
center.
these are
So
seasoned
obviously,
dogs.
exactly, yeah. Some of them come here because they got abandoned. Some of them come here because they got too injured. Some of them because their owner passed away.
Mm.
There's just, there's all kinds of dogs in there. And so immediately when I walk in this room, all these dogs, they come and meet you. They want to see, you're a new person in their room, so they just come and meet you. And so a lot of these dogs ran over. I petted them. Oh wow, so cute, so cute. And then this really like fat one comes over. This super fat dog. She's like the last one, but she's like, you can tell she wants to say hi. And so she comes over, and I'm like, and I tell the staff, I'm like, why is this dog so big? Like, has she been eating all the food, like eating all these other dogs' food? Because like all the other dogs, they were like pretty skinny, right? And I was like, why is she like so big? And they were like, oh no, they just laughed it off. And so I petted her for a bit, but there's like all these other dogs too. So I'm like, I want to go meet all the dogs just to see who's the best match. And so I went around to each corner of the room, met all the dogs. Some were sleeping, just pet them a little bit. And this fat dog just kept following me everywhere. She was the only one. She was the only one who followed me at
She
every
knew,
place I
man.
went.
She knew she met the one.
She knew. And I was like, dude, this dog is so fat. And there was some other like people that were looking to adopt too, this other
Yeah.
couple. And I was like laughing with them, like, dude, this dog is like so fat. And I thought it was cute. And I kept rubbing her belly because she would just walk up to me, lay down, and like on her
Rub
back, and just
me.
like, rub my belly. And so I rubbed her. And so originally I was like, this dog seems like a good fit. Is she available? And at the time, so I was told no. So the first I was told no. That Muttville was hosting an event that night called like prom to raise money as a fundraiser. And she was supposed to be in that event. And so they were like, no, you would have to come back tomorrow. But tomorrow, the next day, I had a whole bunch of clients lined up. So I said, oh man, I'm just gonna have to come back next week and see if she's available then. Because really she was the only one that was following me around. I was like, I would love to take her home, but I'll have to wait till next week. And I was like, she's probably gonna be gone next week. These dogs, they're in and out pretty quick. And I was like, you know what? I love this dog so much. Let me just take her for a walk, because you can sample a walk. So I was like, I'll just take her for a walk just to spend some time with her, and then I'll go about my way. So we went on our first walk, and I still have that video up on my Instagram. If you go to my highlights, that first walk, I just happened to take a photo of her. And then we went back. And this was like, at this point, I had spent around 45 minutes meeting the dogs and walking her and things like that. So the lead person came in, the person that's in charge of Muttville. And I was like, and I had been spending so much time petting her that she was like, I was like, I was told, she was like, oh, how are you liking everything? And I was like, oh, I love this dog right here, but I know that she's not available. And then she was like, what? I think she is available. And so she went to the back to check it out. And then I think they just rearranged some stuff. And she was like, no, okay, she's available. Like, you can take her. I was like, oh, great. So that's how it happened. And then I took her home. And one of the first things that I ran into was like, so Muttville's like, maybe like a 10-minute drive in the city. And so we got outside, and I was like, wait, how am I supposed to take you home? Like, I'm outside Muttville, and I'm like, wait. I have like no supplies. I have no dog bed. I have no dog bowls. I have no dog food. Because I just
Wow.
went to check it out. And I was like, how am I going to take you home? So then the first thing I had to do was like call an Uber and get her in the Uber. And that was like I was like so worried because she's so big and I know I can lift her, but like I want to be really careful. Like I don't know if she has some sort of, I don't know. I don't know. Like she maybe break her back if I pick her up the
Yeah,
wrong
yeah,
way.
for sure.
So I remember the first time I was like, all right, man, like really scooped her up, and I was just like so careful. But we got her in the car, and right after I took her home, I ran to Target and I bought, a little simple dog bed and some dog food and the dog bowl, and that's how it started. And then we were like, hey, you're an overweight dog, like let's like
To put you on a
if you
program.
yeah, let's go, like you. So I didn't go in thinking I'm gonna get a fat dog because I'm a trainer. It just so happened that I went and looking for a friend, and she just happened to be overweight, and to take care of her, we went on this weight loss journey. So
Man, that's
it's
so
kind of a good
beautiful
story.
story. And it's amazing
Yeah.
because I feel like dogs really know at a deeper level who they connect with, and they do pick their owners, I think, to a large degree.
Man, she
And
really picked me. I mean, it must have been hard for her to keep running after me because I went all over, and she kept following me.
she's like, "This is the
she
one that's gonna get me in shape."
she was the slowest one, man. She was the slowest one by far. I mean, like all the
Man,
dogs ran up, and then like 2 minutes later, here she comes. Like waddle, waddle, waddle. That's how it happened.
Jimmy, this is incredible, man. I don't even know how to really even close this off without just maybe sounding a little bit too um, in love with you because I'm really like amazed that you've kept up what you've kept up, but I'm also not surprised because I've known you to be sort of the silent hard worker, very much, in your own place and just doing your own thing without really worrying about other people ever since I've known you. And it's just amazing to see like where that can take somebody if they just stick with it for 5, 6, 7 years. And it's just you've come so far, man. This is amazing, and I love what you've built. And again, ladies and gentlemen, check out builtbyjimmy.net to get all of your resources and get in touch with Jimmy if you have struggles along the same lines that what we've discussed today, and of course, much more. Jimmy, I want to thank you so much, man. Before I close out, I want to give you an
Mm-hmm.
offer chance to maybe ask or speak about anything else that you felt that we didn't share today that you want to leave to the people, or if you have any questions for me.
Man, well, I gotta say, I know we touched on it a little bit before, but as somebody who back in 2013, I think it was now, maybe 2012, when we worked out. I mean, I gotta tell you, like that, I took that meeting. I know it was just, I think we worked out for an hour. We worked arms. It was just, I can't thank you enough for even giving me the opportunity. Because I remember, look, we went through a workout, which was all great, and there was some great movements that we did that I still continue today. But like I remember after that, because see, you were already like hustling and making things happen. I remember you had your personal training contract that you were you I saw you sitting down with the client. I remember that clearly. I remember you just making things happen. Like, so you were someone that actually did it. Like you're a bodybuilder forever. For the rest of your life, you were bodybuilder. I never had the balls to get up on stage. Like I never actually did that. Right. And to see someone like yourself that was training way before I did, made it happen. It was way harder to get on stage and actually do what you were going to say. Those things, not only are they rare, but they're super valuable to me. So I would just say, thank you, Abhinav, for like, things that you've done in the past. I never had the chance to do that. So thank you for that. But everyone else, I think be honest with yourself. And I think that question that you asked, what would you do if you were like just by yourself and Instagram didn't exist and social media didn't exist and your girlfriend, your boyfriend didn't exist and nothing existed, who would you be? What would you do? I think that's a great question to ask yourself and will help you be happy at the end of the day.
With that, I have nothing better to say, Jimmy. Thank you again so much for being a part of this
Appreciate it.
journey, man. And we're going to look back on this 10 years from now and be like, man, what were we doing in quarantine
Hope
2020?
so. I hope so. That'd be amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Thank you, everybody, for checking out this episode, and we'll see you next time.